to the sun with me, so I can show you something you've never seen. And both you and I shouldn't be too shy by letting go for once. Come and be free with me. Just look straight ahead, don't you stay behind, don't stay behind. Trying to make you feel right, 'cause our stars are aligned. Can I make up your mind? Follow me into the light, there is so much we can do in this life. Let it sink in, this is where we begin. All that you need to know, now that you understand what I'm trying to show you, is that you and I shouldn't be too shy by letting go for once. Come, let your spirit glow.
Hi there. Hello and welcome to my live coding session. My name is Jochen. I'm the founder and CTO of fluentd IT, a team of DevOps experts working mostly for web agencies, hence the name of my live stream. For today's session, I've planned to build a new chef cookbook. Since we are going to switch our logging to a centralized installation combined of fluentd and Elasticsearch, we need to roll out fluentd on all our servers. And for these infrastructure automation things, we use Chef, and that's why I'm going to build a Chef cookbook that will install fluentd on all our machines. There is already a fluentd cookbook. There are multiple fluentd cookbooks, to be honest. And there's one directly from Treasure Data, the company behind fluentd. This cookbook provides mostly resources that you can then use in your own application cookbook. And that's what I'm going to build. So I don't have to take care of installing fluentd and these low-level things. Instead, I have to decide what we'd like to log and how we'll configure fluentd to talk to our central logging instance. As you can hear, I have a bit of the sniffles, so I apologize in advance for a bit of cold symptoms. Let's get started by simply creating a new skeleton cookbook. In our company, we use a single monolithic repository for all our chef cookbooks, and I'm already in the directory where all our cookbooks are. So in order to create a new cookbook, all I have to do is copy the cookbook template we've created into a new directory. And all our application cookbooks that we use have the suffix dash Freistil, so we know that's a company internal cookbook and probably nothing that we will be able to open source, simply because it's too specific for our use case. Okay. The brain's not working on full speed yet. If you have any questions, if you have any feedback, if something doesn't make sense to you, then simply put it into the chat and I'll do my best to have an eye on that and respond. Okay, so here we go, fluentd. The template cookbook has a few prepared things like a README file and stuff like that, and we'll have to first update these things. So let's start by writing a bit into README, fluentd application cookbook. We use this cookbook to install and configure fluentd on our machines. I'll add more things later. Then it's important to update the metadata file that has all the stuff that chef needs. I'll add the issues and source URLs later. I don't think we'll need them right now. Let's take a look at the Bergs file. That's definitely default. And here's the default recipe. Okay, I think that's it for preparations. So let's take a look at the fluentd library cookbook. Since we're going to use this library cookbook, we can definitely add it come on, as a dependency. Just on a side note, TD agent was the name that this project had at the beginning, treasure data agent, and later they renamed the project to fluentd. So we have the TD agent gem resource that will install fluentd from Ruby gems. And then we have the resources to install plugins, to configure log sources, to configure matches, to create filters, agents. Okay, that looks pretty straightforward. So I guess the first thing that our default recipe will do is include recipe td agent default. That's something we can already test. Let's take a look at our test kitchen configuration. Test kitchen will use Vagrant and inspec. We'll have to run it on both Ubuntu 14 and 16. Let's see if that works. I don't think it will work because I'm working on a Linux server at the moment, and I have my doubts that I have VirtualBox and Vagrant available. Yep. Okay, so I'll change my setup here. That shouldn't be a big problem. I'll simply create a new branch. This is an alias for git checkout. fluentd file. I'll add everything and save it as work in progress. And what I'll do is simply log out. And continue working on my own machine here. And what did I do wrong? Not sure what I'm doing wrong here. Oh, I remember, I didn't push, did I? So let's go back to my previous machine. Okay, another try. Here we go. Yeah, the old brain is not working right today. Now, let's try another time. Here we go. That's how it's supposed to work. And here's our stuff. And if my machine is not completely outdated, then I should have a Vagrant driver and the things that are necessary to run tests. That looks okay. So let's simply run a kitchen converge. To get everything started. It might take a minute to fetch the base images it needs. Okay, there's something in my kitchen setup that's not quite right. Just a second. Okie dokie, so there's something wrong with my setup here. And I'll simply take a look at a different setup that should already be working. Oh. I'm open for suggestions from the chat as well. Okay, this still runs with our Docker setup. I might use that just to get things running. Docker as well. Docker as well. Well, I go with Docker then. Let's see. Driver Jochen, chef version 12.6.0. Then transport Jochen, provisioner Jochen. It's our name. Okay. Then we'll need the platforms. I'll copy them. Let's first deprovision what was already installed. And now let's work with the new one. Looks like my path doesn't work right at the moment. Normally I should be able to run kitchen commands without the chef exec prefix. And what else is wrong? Oh yeah, I don't have Docker running. And I guess I'll fix that by switching back to my normal development machine. Oh, it didn't pull. Okay, let's configure that correctly. Probably made a typo here. Okie dokie. Let's get this running. Okay. Kitchen. Converge. Oops. What am I doing? Berkshire should automatically take care of downloading the TD Agent cookbook. But there is something that doesn't work right. And let's see what it is. Okay. Looks like it's trying to configure an apt repository. And since we are using an older version of the Chef client, it doesn't have the apt repository resource that's built in later Chef revisions. And we can fix that by simply adding the dependency to the rest to metadata rb. We might need to use an older version of apt as well that still provides the resource. Yeah, it's the same issue. Let's take a look at an older No, metadata. Huh. No specific apt version. Strange. Just a second. Okay, let's find out when the apt cookbook dropped the resource and pin it so 6.0 made this breaking change. So we can pin it to 5 and should be good. And since we are pinning this in our test environment, I'll use Burks file. Yep, that's the correct cookbook version for apt. And this looks much better. That looks good. The chef run finished successfully, and it looks like it configured some default settings. TDH and conf. Let's take a look at the file itself. Okay. What I don't need is this forward resource that will be open to the internet. And I guess that's because of the default attributes that the TDH and cookbook uses. Let's take a look. Yeah. It has an in forward and in HTTP. And if at all, I'd like to have that bound to localhost. So what I'll do is nope. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. Strangely, the HTTP input doesn't get configured at all. It didn't even get configured with the global bind address. But I can look into this later. I don't need it anyway. Okay. This nose. What I'd like to do though is configure that syslog, the var log syslog file will be monitored on every machine. So it looks like I need the td agent source resource. I always use double quotes because it makes things easier and doesn't really have a significant performance impact, even though Ruby will try and see if there's something it needs to interpolate. But that's not really significant. Okay, let's see. if that does the trick. Looks like it. I'll scroll up and look at the change. No, it didn't. No, it errored. I did it. TD agent includes attributed true. What does the TD agent? I see. Okay. It'll write a different file, and that file will not be enabled without setting the includes attribute, right? I should do that right at the top. Maybe that'll take care of the HTTP input as well. Yep, we definitely have the syslog file configured. Does it also configure the HTTP input? No, it does not. But I don't care. Okay. Then what we need to configure is as well is the most important thing, and that's where it's supposed to send everything. Type should be, what should the type be? Let's take a look at the fluentd documentation. It is forward. We will not tag it in this case. And then we'll have to add a server section. Okay, so we can so we'll introduce all these new attributes, which we have to define as well. So we need a name, host, port, and flush interval. Does it even have a flush interval? No, it does not. Name, host, port. It might have a wait, but I don't think we'll need that at the moment. Okay, forward name, host, and port. I just realized that it's better to use underscores in cookbook and attribute names, so we'll fix that in a few minutes. And let's simply use some default dummy values. And let's see if this converges. Did I set a match pattern? Tag is required. Okay. Ah, that's the pattern. Okay. Let's see, how is this configured? Yep. Looks like that's what we want. Let's converge this while I clean my nose. Still not working, huh? I assume we are missing a few. Oh, okay. No. Okay. So name can't be just anything. Let's simply use the same value. And that seemed to have done the trick. Let's take another look at our test setup. Okay. I think we'll have to remove that. Okay. bombs out again. Can't reload the file. It still writes example. Didn't I save the file? Oh yeah, I quit the file itself. Let's take a look at the machine itself. Huh, okay. There is a TD agent running and it logs to varlog TD agent. So let's take a look at that log. Okay, yeah, okay. TD agent runs with its own user that doesn't have access to varlog syslog. But it seems to understand what we'd like it to do. So what we have to do is, let's see, is there a TD agent user? There is a TD agent user, and we'll have to add this user to the admin group. ADM, that's right. Okay. So, how do we do that? Chef resource group. Here's right what we need. So even before we even start dealing with TD agent, we'll add default Ubuntu. It is now in the admin group. Did it actually? Okay. Why is that? We probably have to reboot the machine. Or we could try to do a stop and start. Oops, that doesn't look good. Yep, it can't resolve. So we'll use a working default name. But we can't use the default port. Otherwise we'll create a loop. Did not update the file. Yeah, that looks much better. We have a local fluentd port. We are following the tail of varlog syslog. And the agent is running. Okay, so let's codify all this in a test. And it should be a member of the admin group. So let's take a look at inspec.io. and see how we can test that a user is member of a group. Its groups should include Yep. Okay. And I guess we should check for the syslog file. Configuration, but the file name of that configuration is outside of my control, so it feels wrong to hardcode the configuration file path to see if it exists. I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to do that. So what I mean is describe file hardcoding this path might be correct, but who can tell if the TD Agent cookbook will not choose another file name or path for this and still work, but my tests will break. This feels a little bit brittle, but we still can see if it works, and we might simply work with it for the time being. I'll leave a comment here. Otherwise, this works well, and we'll simply try a complete test run from a non-existing machine to a successful test. I'll be right back. Oh, come on. And that's why we run complete tests. Okay. I can't add a non-existing user. I suspected as such. So we'll move that here instead. I like this. That's very nice. So, I commit this and do a rebase of all the commits. This is a git alias that will rebase my upstream repository on this, and I can simply make these fix up and revert the working version commit. What? Okay, so we'll have to do the opposite. Okay, git rebase minus abort. Revert the first one and then merge the other ones into this. Oh, I just remembered I'll have to rename the cookbook as well. Okay, fluentd application cookbook. This cookbook installs fluentd with a basic configuration. Default setup includes a local host. Forward. source and tails details syslog. Okay. Good. And that's it for today. I hope it was interesting for you. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to get in touch via Twitter or email. And if my health is any better, I'll be back next Tuesday at 10 GMT with another live coding. See you then.